Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lily. I am so happy that you're here with me today. In today's video, I am going to revisit repurposing tissue boxes. I have made these in the past where I take the tissue box and I create a topper with it. If you'd like to see an older video on how I do that, I'm going to link it up above for you. But I've been collecting these. Now, this is my favorite tissue box to purchase. I get these at Dollar Tree, and mainly because it has a sentiment right on the box. And there are a couple of different styles at the Dollar Tree. This one, though, is the one that I tend to gravitate to. I go through a lot of tissue boxes because I have one in every room. And so whenever I go, I probably pick up about 10 boxes. And so they come out to $1.25 each, but you can make 3 toppers from one box and then still do tons of little extra things with all the extra pieces. And we're going to talk about that when I get to crafting. But look, you get a sentiment here, which you can cut out for a topper. And then it's 2 in 1. And then, so not only am I going to make toppers with the sentiment side, where am I? Right here, with the sentiment side, but I'm also going to do a topper with like the frame part. For example, if I were to open up this tissue box, see? So after I'm done, I cut this out, and we're gonna go through all those steps. I'm going to try to reuse 100% of this tissue box, but look, so after I cut this down, it looks like a picture frame. So I'm gonna make a topper, and I already did one in advance. I'm gonna show you how cute it looks. It's right here. Okay, so I have 3 samples for you because I wanna be able to share what we are going to do so that you can stick around and we can do it together. So I've got one here. I can't get over how stinking cute this is. I'm gonna bring it up close. Let's see, right there. Can you see that? Oh my gosh, it's so stinking cute. Okay, so there's a lot of junky junk here. Corrugated cardboard, the tissue frame, and then embellishments that I haven't used for years, you guys. And so I went through my stash. I'm actually going through my stash right now because look around. I cleaned my office. I had not cleaned this office since before Christmas because I got sick and then I got busy and I didn't have time for cleaning. Anyway, so you can kind of tell I picked up a little bit, took some of the Christmas down, but I'm not done. Anyway, off topic really quick. The house is going to be quiet for the next few days, and I'm going to take advantage of that, and I am going to film a tour of this entire room plus the loft that is just outside that door, because this is my office, and there's an overflow of craft supplies, but where I mainly create my crafts is right outside in that loft. So I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that the house is gonna be nice and quiet for a couple days, and I am going to film my craft area for you. The reason why I haven't done it before is because there is a lot going on in this house, and there's always family and friends, lots of stuff going on. It's really difficult to find quiet time, and that's why I do voiceovers, except here, I just close the door and I do, the intro. Okay, anyway, that is that. So if you are not subscribed, subscribe because I'll be working on that video pretty soon. Okay, back to my topper. I know I get distracted. Okay, so here's the topper. So because I have been picking up and cleaning, I'm coming across neglected craft supplies. So lots of little metal embellishments that I've had for a long time, like old stuff. And then old florals. I even used some denim from an old pair of jeans. I love how this turned out. Look at the bag. It's just a grungy piece of cardboard. Let me show you the other 2. Right here, side by side. Oh my gosh, I don't have to be in it. Look. So stinking cute. So I'm going to go through all of the steps. I did do some stitching. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn trash to treasure, you guys, because what's happening is I'm going through a lot of tissue boxes and I'm collecting all of the boxes. So here's this one, and then there's this one, and here's another one, and then here is a plain one. So don't limit yourself to just this. So work on these too. I haven't worked on plain ones yet. In this video, I'm only going to work on this style right here. I have a whole box over there somewhere with more of these. And the stash is getting bigger. And so, food for thought. If we're collecting the junk, we have to take the time to make things out of the junk, or else it's just going to become overwhelming. And then we're going to get flustered and it's going to end up in the garbage. So we don't want to do that. We're trying to repurpose and make beautiful things out of junk. So if you want to make one of these and one of these, then go get your stuff and let's make beautiful things together. You ready? Let's go!
I'd like to show you a close-up of each one of these junk journal toppers so that you can get a good glimpse of them. They do have some gold metallic splatters, those little metal embellishments. Some of them are more than 15 years old, and then the sentiment one, maybe 3 years or so. And then the florals, it's just a collection from my stash. When I was in California, I used to subscribe to kits, paper crafting kits, and I got tons of florals from like Blue Fern Studios, 49 and Market, plus Prima. So I've got tons of flowers, and knowing that I have all those flowers hasn't stopped me from purchasing more flowers, but I'm trying not to do that anymore. But they look beautiful, and I really do love a dimensional junk journal topper. If you've seen a lot of my other videos of my completed junk journals, you know that I like to embellish the fronts with lots and lots of florals for all occasions. Those little metal sentiments are so cute. That one reads Faith, and then I have another one that reads Hope, and then I believe Grace. They are all super, super cute. I did do some stitching around the corrugated cardboard, but I'm not going to do that with the next ones that we're going to work on. I tried to keep the journal toppers to be about 5 by 7. And that's because that's the size that I need for the type of journals that I make. So most of my journals are about 8 by 6. This one here is 9 by 6. I'll link the video up above if you'd like to see my travel journal, which that's what that one is. But I want to give you an idea of how to use your junk journal topper. So if you mass produce these toppers, all you have to do afterwards is glue them to the front of your journal. Whether it's a fabric journal or a paper journal, find the right adhesive and attach it to the front. So see how this one fits absolutely perfect. The journal is 9 inches in length by 6 inches wide, and my topper is roughly 5 by 7. So it's perfect. Just know that in advance you have to have an idea of what size journal you work with so that you can make your junk journal toppers accordingly. And if you have to trim them down a little bit on the sides, you do what you need to do. So look at how beautiful those are. And so right now I am mass producing these junk journal toppers. And I don't have the junk journals ready yet, but at least I'll have the toppers ready. They turned out so beautiful, a little bit grungy, a little bit shabby. And I'm working with color that I don't normally work with, and that's navy blue. I love the color, but I don't work with it very often. I struggle with it. But because this has so many different blue variations, I just love it. And I'm like, I can work with it by adding other elements to it. So it pops. Okay, step 1, grab your tissue box. And now we are going to cut it apart. I'm basically just going to cut all of the sections out. I'm going to be careful so that I can cut as best as I can. I want to save those 2 sentiment toppers. If you are working with plain tissue boxes, You can always add your own sentiment. In fact, I know I'm not working on the plain tissue boxes right now, but in the future, I will work with other tissue boxes to give you more ideas, just in case you're unable to get a hold of these. So I'm just going to go through and cut all the sides. I'm going to use all the sides for something, and I'm going to show you those steps. You can see that on my tabletop, I have some of the tools that I'm going to be using for all of those extra little panel pieces. But even this piece right here, which is the bottom of the tissue box, I'm going to reuse, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. So I'm trying not to waste any of this cardboard. I've done this in the past where I take it all apart and then I reach for my punches for all the extra little bits and pieces. And by the way, this is a great tip for you. It works for me where I end up with a lot of paper scraps. And so I will go through my box of paper scraps, grab my favorite punches, which are the ones that are on the tabletop right now, and I just start punching away. And I'm going to show you how I store all of those little punch outs. With the frame part, I have to be really careful. I don't want to tear it. It's somewhat fragile. And so I carefully peel off that plastic liner and then set that aside. Even these pieces right here that have some of that torn adhesive, I will reuse, or I'll use it to make some of the punches or punch outs. But I've been doing this for a really long time, especially with my scrap pieces of paper, where I'll just sift through my paper scraps and punch away, create different groups. And now I even have containers to store all the different shapes of the punch outs. And not just punch outs, you can also run some of these pieces through your die cutting machine and use different dies and framelits and things like that. So these pieces right here with the pattern, I will take some of my favorite punches. These are old, you guys. I've had these from Stampin' Up! For a really long time, but there are others out there that are really similar. And please note, these punches are not made for punching upside down the way I'm showing you. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes only. What happens if you do this? It'll pinch your fingers. And so when you go to punch, make sure you do it the proper way on a tabletop, on a solid tabletop, and then punch it through. I've pinched my fingers doing it upside down. So just be careful if that's what you do. So you could see that I took a little label, and these are old. These punches are even older than those other brownish ones, the square rectangular ones. But see how easy it punches through the cardboard? And I have the tab punch, I have this little label punch, and I'm trying to get as much of the cardboard as possible. And I'll show you in just a moment how I sort and save all of these in their own little container. And so when I need little tabs or I need labels, I know exactly where to reach for them. And this tissue box cardboard is pretty flexible. And so when I make those little tabs, it doesn't seem to crack. And so I will punch out as much of that surface as I possibly can. I'm only using those flat pieces. I'm not going to use the 2 centimeter panels nor the one that I'm calling a frame. So this is something great to do if you tend to have a lot of scraps like I do. And then just separate them. Plus, the other thing I like to do is I'll include random die cut pieces and punch out pieces in my Happy Mail and also in my Etsy orders. Just random, because I like using them in my junk journals as little embellishments. And these right here, though they don't have a design, you could still work with the cardboard look by adding even more embellishments. Plus these heart punch outs also make really good tabs on the ends of your junk journal pages. Super cute. It looks like lattice. So these would be great in like a garden themed journal. Just anything. Some of my journals are pretty random, so I'll use all kinds of different things. And so this is what I do. I just go through all of the pieces and try to use up as much as I can. By the way, all of those negative pieces I've also used in tags. And to give you an idea, if you go over to the home page of my YouTube channel, the banner picture that I have on my home page is a display of different tags that I made over 10 years ago, and you'll be able to catch a glimpse of the negative die cut pieces and punch out pieces that I've stapled or glued onto my tags. So you could reuse, especially the ones that you've used to punch out hearts. Those look great stapled on tags. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, when we're done here, jump over to my homepage on my YouTube channel, and you get there just by clicking on my name or on my little picture. It'll take you to my homepage, and take a look at that banner picture that is there with all of those beautiful and colorful tags using the negatives. Okay, so now when I've die cut all of the things, oh, by the way, I also used this little framelit to cut out a Rolodex card. And it cut perfectly through that cardboard. And so that is what I will do with that piece of cardboard. And I've done it to others, and I set those aside. If you would like to see or know more about that Rolodex die, I do have an Amazon storefront, and I'll have that linked for you down below. And I'll have a direct link to that die as well. All the other little pieces go in their corresponding container, and I repurpose containers, Tupperware, Rubbermaid containers, and I think this was holding beads, and that holds all of my circles and scallop circles. And then in this one, I have all of my hearts, and you'll see there all the varying papers. That's the stuff I have in my scrap box. So I love working with hearts, and I try not to let scraps of paper go to waste. And this is the best use for all of those little scraps, regardless of the size, because you can make so many things. And I don't show you in this video, but I also have a separate little container of tiny little hearts and tiny little stars. And I also punch out the paper hole reinforcers. So I try not to waste. I know that's pretty crazy, but I try not to waste paper. I find a way to reuse it. And now everything is put away. And so when I need something, I just reach for it from its container. And I've got more containers. Okay, so on these card fronts, I am going to do some stitching. So I just ran a zigzag stitch through the sewing machine. It is a wonky stitch. It is kind of grungy looking, but I like the way that looks. I'm now reaching for some corrugated cardboard, and I'm just going to place my topper, my sentiment topper, over the corrugated cardboard and just roughly cut around it to make sure that it is no bigger than 5 by 7. And so I like working on my glass grid mat because it keeps everything in the size that I want to work in. So now this one was pretty easy to peel that top layer of paper off. But I've worked with other corrugated cardboard where I struggled a little bit more. So this one was nice to work with. I have this decal ruler that I've had for a really long time. I have a lot of Stampin' Up! Supplies because when I started scrapbooking, that was my go-to place. Plus, I was also a demonstrator a long, long time ago. So I love this ruler, and I want that grungy edge. And because that corrugated cardboard is somewhat thin, it was really easy to tear it. But if you don't have a ruler like this, some corrugated cardboard may be easy just to manually tear. And I'll show you how you can tear something that is a little thicker and maybe a heavier type of cardboard. So you'll see me kind of go back and forth positioning the little toppers over the corrugated cardboard to make sure that they're all the right size. And I may even do some trimming as we go along. I'm now going to take some white chalk paint. This is by Folk Art. I love this paint. And I am going to distress around the edges and just kind of haphazardly around the edges, adding a little bit of white paint. It's my favorite thing to do. If you don't have the white chalk paint, you can use acrylic paint, and you can also use white gesso. If white paint is not your thing, you can use any color you want. You can also use the Tim Holtz Distress ink if you want to give it a more grungy look. This cardboard was a little bit heavier, and I did struggle to cut it just a little bit. And I should have reached for, I have these really nice, easy to handle heavy duty scissors that would have cut through that cardboard like butter, but I didn't reach for it. And this one was a little more tedious to peel back, and so I'm using a little pick to kind of help it along. And it did take me a few extra minutes to do that. So because this paper is so thick, I couldn't use the decal ruler, but I was able to kind of fold it where I wanted to tear it along, and then it easily tore with my fingers. I'll show you again. I'm not going to tear it with the ruler. I'm just going to fold it or bend it and then just tear it across. By doing that, it kind of keeps that tear in line. So it was hard to use with the decal ruler, but it was actually really easy to tear with my fingers. And then spent a few more minutes peeling that top layer of paper, and I'm focusing on the edges, not so much on the center because that's going to be covered. I just want some of that corrugation to show around the edges. And see, this is where I go back and I trim it down a little bit more. I only want it to be slightly larger than the tissue topper. If you don't have a decal ruler, you can use any type of ruler, score that line or bend it where you want to tear, and then just tear what you need to tear. If you don't want that grungy look, then just cut straight across. But that uneven edge adds more character to it. I love the way that looks. So trimming more of that excess. Making sure it's the size that I want it to be. So now I'm going to finish off by adding more paint to the other two. I'm not going to show you the entire thing, but you get the idea. I'm just going to distress with the white paint all around the edges until they look exactly how I want them to look. Look at how beautiful they look, just like that. Positioning my little toppers to make sure everything is looking good. And now I reached for some really pretty doilies that I've had for a really long time. I purchased these a while back, maybe a little over 10 years ago from an Etsy shop. I bought them because I was asked to make some wedding invitations, and so I used it for that. I'm not going to use the entire doily. There's no need to it, so I'm just cutting it in half. And I'm using the Ultimate Glue just to adhere it down. This is my favorite glue. My sister was just telling me that it has become her favorite adhesive as well. And it is non-toxic and it doesn't have an odor. And it's like a super glue. It works on everything. It works on paper, on glass, metal, plastic. And I really do like that it is practically odorless. And she was able to use it with her grandkids. They were all working on a project, and she was telling me that her grandkids were really surprised at how well the ultimate glue worked to keep little gems down. So it works really well. And I also have that in my Amazon storefront. I'll have a direct link to that down below. But if you have any questions on anything that I'm doing, if I miss pointing something out or mentioning it, please, I welcome you to leave your questions or your comments down below. I try to reply within 24 hours. Sometimes I reply within minutes, depending on what I'm doing. But at least within 24 hours, I do try to reply to you. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. On this one, I am using the full doily because I'm going to place the frame over it. I also thought about using maybe some lace trim or some fabric underneath in lieu of the doily. Maybe I'll do that in a future video. Okay, this is the old pair of the old denim that I've had. And so I'm cutting pieces, and this is from a pant leg, an old pair of jeans. I was wearing these jeans one day, and the bum tore as I bent over. And I tried to save them, but no, they tore so bad in the bum area. And so then I just washed them and cut them all apart, and this denim now lives in my fabric drawers. And how perfect it is to use in little projects like this. Again, as much as I love denim and the color blue, these are two of the things that I struggle using. But I have it. I'm saving it for a reason. And so I'm putting it to use. And so I found that this is the best way for me to use the denim. It coordinates so well with these toppers. So now I'm just grunging it up a little bit, trying to fray the ends. And now I'm going to run it through the sewing machine just to give it more texture, and just a simple zigzag stitch across the bottom. You can even make bunting with this if you wanted to. And so I frayed it up a little bit more. And for this, I am going to use Fabrifix because that's what I have. The ultimate glue I don't use for fabric too often. If the fabrics are thin, it tends to seep through, and I don't like that. And so the Fabri-Tac or the Fabrifix works really good for fabric. The only thing is that it has a very strong odor, and I don't like that. But because I'm working in the loft and it's such an open area, it's not as bad. I don't recommend you use this adhesive if you are in a small space that doesn't have a lot of ventilation, because it's really strong. The odor, yeah. I'm going to go back and raise the little denim pieces up. I want that corrugation to show at the bottom a little bit. And so I got lucky that it took a moment before it dried. So I'll lift it and raise it in just a moment, like I do this one. And I realized it when I glued this one down, that the others I glued down too low. They are coming along really, really nice. I have paint and glue all over my hands, and then I'm going to work in a little while. I tried to get most of it off, but I did have paint on my fingers for the rest of the day. So see how a little bit of that corrugation is showing at the bottom? If I took the time to peel that paper and paint it, I want to make sure that a little bit shows through. There are a lot of layers, but I love the look of all of the layering elements, the corrugation, the denim, the cardboard. It works well together. I have these old brads. And I mean old. I don't remember where it came from. And they didn't necessarily come in this little box. I've just been storing them in here. And they're really cool. It is a book corner, but it's a brad. And these are really, really great to use. You just have to remember to use them before, if you want to use a brad, just in general, you have to make sure that you add the brad before you place your topper down, because you need to pierce it through. But before I start piercing the little brads through, let me glue the toppers down. And I'm using the hot glue. This is a really strong adhesive hot glue. And my glue gun is actually really, really hot. I should have probably used my other one that is more of a medium temperature. If you're working with a hot glue gun, be careful. I did kind of get some on my finger and I ran to the bathroom and put my hand in cold water. So be careful with the glue gun, especially if it's really hot. And I wanted to use glue gun because I wanted it to dry a lot faster. And because it's a really strong bond. So now I poked a little hole, or I'm going to poke a little hole through the corrugated cardboard with my little pokey tool. And then I will add the little brads. And I'm kind of eyeballing to make sure I poke the hole right where I want that little brad to be. But these are so cool. So I need to go online and see if I can find some of these book corner brads. But I have other metal embellishments that I can use that look like book corners. But as I was going through my things, I completely forgot that I had these. And they look really nice. Just one of them right there in the corner. To spread open the little brads, the little brad ends, I just used my pokey tool to spread the little, are they like tines open? Little tines. Little arms. So see how I just positioned the pokey tool right down the center of the little brad arms and then spread those apart. And now I'm going to press it down because I want to make sure that it is flat. But all of these extra embellishments add such a nice look. And I could have stopped a long time ago. You don't have to add the flowers. You don't have to add the metal embellishments. You can stop right at the topper. The corrugated cardboard, the denim, or any type of trim or fabric that you have, place the topper right on top and you can call it good. But I'm going to keep going because I have the supplies and I want to be able to use them. These are all of my florals. Well, they're not all of my florals, but I'm grabbing florals that I feel will coordinate well with the toppers. And most of these are Prima Marketing. Some of them that I've received in kits, others that I've purchased at the craft stores. There's also Old Recollections flowers and Paper Studio flowers. But these florals are my favorite. I'm going to try not to buy so many paper flowers because before I started buying flowers, I was making my own paper flowers and I need to go back to doing that. But for now, I will use up what I have. So I'm kind of placing the flowers side by side with the toppers to see which ones best coordinate. And it was a nice surprise to find these blue ones. So I will use some of those on this first one. I don't want to spend too much time fussing over the flowers or the position of the flowers. I just want to glue and attach. So I'm not going to spend too much time. I don't want to overthink it. Regardless of the flowers that I use, they're going to come out great. The ones that I had made off camera, the 3 on top, I didn't put much thought into those flowers. I just grabbed them and glued them down. And those are really nice up on top. Those are burlap flowers or florals that I picked up at Hobby Lobby a couple years ago. So now gluing them down just at the corner, super easy. Again, using the hot glue. And it was really hot, so again, I can't stress it enough. Be careful when you're using hot glue. Use maybe a low or a medium temperature setting. I'm lucky that I have a bathroom in my loft area, and so I can quickly run over there and put my hands in cold water. And look at how nice that cluster of flowers is looking. So stinking cute. This one is really, really pretty. And I've had this one for a long time. And these are like little floral branches or stems. And at first I thought I would cut them apart. But then I realized how cute it looks by just leaving it as it is and then gluing it down along this side. Plus it looks really good because that frame looks like a trellis. So it looks like a floral vine going up on the trellis. So I really like the way this one turned out. I have been saving these frame toppers for a while. I just haven't used them as much. And so as I'm going around and putting things away and moving things around, I'm discovering that I've got a lot of this that I really need to use. And so super cute, just adding a little bit of glue in areas to make sure that it stays down. And then I got smart and grabbed a little stick. So I'm not using my fingers and burning myself again. I'm using the little stick to press that down. So if you have a little plastic stick, a metal stick, the end of a paintbrush, use that to hold your little elements down after hot gluing them. Because the hot glue still, you can feel the heat through the little flowers. And that dusty rose flower is so pretty. It looks so beautiful with the different shades of blue. And then I went back and added more florals to the other one. In fact, I will go back again and add little flowers. I'll show you in just a moment. So these are the flat metal sentiment little plaques. One of them reads Grace, the other Faithful, and then I think I grabbed one that reads Hope. And then I'm going to point out here on the Ultimate Glue where it reads that it is perfect for metal. And I'm just going to add a generous amount of the glue. I'm going to hold it with these little tweezers. When I first bought these tweezers, I struggled using them. I couldn't figure it out because they work the opposite of what normal or regular tweezers are. So it took me a minute to get used to these, but now I can't live without them. Especially because I have my long fingernails, so those little tweezers work perfect. And notice how on the top left journal topper, I added a little bit of corrugated cardboard behind one of the metal sentiment plaques. And I meant to do that with the one on the lower right hand side, but I completely forgot, so that I could have framed it. But at least this way you can see all the different variations and looks. I mean, so many options, so many things that you can do. I'm going to wipe up some of the excess glue with this paintbrush. And now I reached for this really cute jewelry box that I picked up at a thrift store. And this is where I keep all of my tiny little roses and tiny little flowers. And I'm going to fill in some of the gaps in the fronts of these cards just to add a little bit more interest. And those little roses are so cute. I do have some from Tim Holtz that have the stems, but I have those in a different spot. But these little roses are my go-to when I need to fill in some blank spaces. And see how easy it is to grab them with the tweezers and then just add my glue and position them. So a great little tool, but any tweezers will work. I've had these for a while, and I didn't use them for a while because they were kind of weird at first. And I had to stop myself because I can keep going and adding more and more flowers, and there's nothing wrong with that. Add as many or as little flowers as you like. The next step is to add the splatters. I'm taking some of this extra or extreme sheer gold acrylic paint, and I'm going to water it down onto my little palette. And then the best brush I have found to use for splatters is this little fan brush. And then I just mix it around, make sure that it is to the consistency that I want. I add a little bit more water to make it more fluid. And then I just add the splatters. I do make a mess. So I'm trying to keep everything on the this piece of cardboard, but I did get splatters everywhere. A box would work better if you don't want splatters on your things. But my things already have splatters, so it doesn't really matter. It's a workshop area, so there's going to be paint everywhere. And you know how much I love the gold splatters. I'm out of my favorite Heidi Swapp Shine, so I have to kind of be creative with my gold paint. And look at how beautiful they turned out. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you make some. Let me know in the comment section below if you are going to repurpose your tissue box and make yourself some junk journal toppers. I hope you love these as much as I love them. Thank you for sticking around with me, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my future videos, especially the one where I show you my loft area. You guys take care. I'll see you next time. Bye!